A survey by MasterCard shows that the gig economy generates about $204 billion in gross volume globally. This market is expected to reach 455 billion in 2023 with a 17% compound annual growth rate. According to Forbes, 12.7% of full time employees work from home, like I am right now, illustrating the rapid normalization of remote work environments. Simultaneously, 28.2% of employees have adapted to a hybrid work model, which combines home and in office working, offering them flexibility and maintaining some physical presence at the workplace. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third edition of the Accelerate Your Career Growth webinar series. Our theme for this edition is Beyond 9 to 5, exploring the world of remote and gig economy careers. In today's fast paced world, traditional career paths are evolving at an unprecedented rate. The old notion of 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 within the confines of an office is gradually becoming a thing of the past. The gig economy and remote work have opened a world of possibilities to people and professionals like you and me, offering us an alternative, more flexible, and dynamic way of working. So, as we navigate these uncharted waters, it's critical to be informed and equipped with the knowledge and skills to thrive in these new landscapes. That's what we're here to do today. And our experts are here to help us navigate these waters. As we progress through this webinar, I encourage you to engage, ask questions, and challenge your conventional thinking because the world is changing rapidly, and so are the rules of career success. Let's not just adapt to this new world of work. I think the best strategy is to master it. And I need you to always remember that we're in this together. Together, we will learn, we will grow and adapt. We will accelerate our career growth, explore the endless possibilities, and redefine success for us in this new world of work. My name is Bukola Shiwon-Lorontoga. Everybody calls me Coach BSO, and I'm excited to be here with you today as we embark on this exciting journey into the future of work. Thank you for joining us today. I'll be right back. So today we're going to have two speakers, and our speakers are here. I'm so excited to have these two fantastic, amazing experts here. Our first speaker is Christina Shoname. Christina is an excellent management consultant. She's a corporate trainer and speaker. She's a leading career coach and training consultant. And whose mission is to inspire young professionals to embrace the dignity of labor and commit to a culture of excellent stewardship in their professional and personal lives. With over a decade of experience as a career professional, Christina's work experience includes the successful design and delivery of over 120 consulting, training, and coaching interventions for clients across various sectors and industries like Google, LBS, GT Bank, First Bank, Union Bank, you just name it. She's an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, an associate member of the Learning and Development Network International. She's a fellow of the International Management Consultancy Certification Board. She's a certified behavioral analyst. She's a
Okay.
sorry,
Okay.
sorry,
Kajioso is coming back.
sorry about that.
No
So,
issues.
technology is a problem in this part of the world. We have to deal with it all the time. So, yes, I was just talking about Christina. And Christina, is interesting. You are also a member of the John Maxwell team, like me. So, that's a round of
Yes.
applause for you. Yeah. So, yes, she's a Maxwell Disc associate and also a member of the John Maxwell team. She authored a book. We call it the Career Bible. That's Dear Young Professional. Every young professional should read that book. I highly recommend it. And another book, How to Win Over Your Difficult Boss. I'm sure everybody can resonate with that. We all have that boss, just makes our life difficult. You know what I mean? So you want to read that book to know how to deal with that difficult boss. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome Christina Shoname to this edition of the Accelerate Your Career Group webinar series. Before I start asking Christina my questions, let me bring up this next speaker. Our next speaker, the second speaker we're having on this edition is Peter. Peter, I met on LinkedIn. Is interesting. When we tell professionals to join LinkedIn, they say, why? We are busy working. Well, I met Peter on LinkedIn, and he's probably going to tell us why you need to leverage LinkedIn to grow your gig career or to thrive as a remote worker like me and so many of us. So, Peter is a promising coach and mentor. Is dedicated to guiding entry level professionals through the intricate journey from classroom to the corporate world. He has a passion for equipping young professionals with the skills they need to excel, and his experience covers crucial topics including career discovery, CV and cover letter writing, interview strategies, and the art of effective network, which he's going to be talking about today. Throughout his career, Peter has had the privilege of sharing his knowledge and insights with over 500 aspiring professionals, helping them navigate the complexities of the corporate world and realize their dreams of landing good jobs. He's committed to empowering the young African talent with actionable advice and strategies to thrive in today's competitive job market. Peter's wealth of experience and dedication to mentorship makes him a sought after speaker on career development. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Peter. Peter, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much for saying yes to this conversation. So, like I said, I'm going to start with Christina. But before we do that, let's take a short break and we'll be right back. Yes, Christina, are you ready? So, let's
Absolutely.
just start like this. Let's start like this. So I think my first question for you really is how has the landscape for remote and remote and gig economy careers evolved in recent years? How has that landscape
Mm,
evolved? Taking a cue from the statistics I shared at the beginning, the economy, they say that economy is going to be over 400 billion this year.
mm,
But
mm.
we didn't just get here. How did we get to that
Yeah.
point where they can now start projecting that the economy is going to grow to about 455 billion, you know,
Mm,
in 2023? How did we get here?
mm. Very valuable. Thank you so much, Coach BSO. Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be able to share, and it's good to have you here as well, Peter. So I just go straight to the question. The first thing I like to say is that many people may just be hearing about gig economy, but it's important to state that it's not new on the block. The only thing that has changed or that is changing is that before now, people used to, I mean, and when you talk about gig economy, you're just talking about, I mean, think about it when someone's saying I'm doing a gig, it's like just short-term work, project, temporary work that people do. And what I mean when I say it has always been a thing is that what has changed is before people doing gigs or playing the gig economy was like a secondary thing. So people had side hustles. People will take up projects every now and then aside their core job, right? And that had been the norm until recent years, which I think that in 2020 was like the amplifier year where disruption, like all the disruption that were happening underneath the sheet just uncovered and everything just blew up. From that year till now, right? We have seen people now go from doing gigs as a side hustle or as their secondary job to doing gigs as their primary job. So you now have people who are, full time, taking on temporary jobs, and gigs include freelancing, taking on projects, and those sort of things that just mean that you're not in a full time employment, but you're able to serve with your skills and get paid for it, in exchange for some kind of value. So yes, we've just seen it become primary for people, and again, some of the factors that account for this is digitization, an increase in digital tools that help people get work done without being in a physical environment like a workplace. So you're able to, for example, host files and stuff on the cloud so people can work from. So increased digitization has definitely played a role in serving like as a springboard for gig economy becoming like primary work for people, or the primary role that people sit in. So now some people don't even have a full-time job at all. They are playing completely in gig economy. Another thing that we can see attributed to this blow up in gig economy is also that the financial pressure in the economy, people
Hmm.
feeling that need to go after some more, get
Hmm.
more sources of income, and now by chasing alternative sources of income are now coming to discover fields and spaces that even are more rewarding than
Mm-hmm.
their full-time job. And it's like,
Correct.
okay, if this exists, I can as well do this full-time. So people have gone from what they intended to be side hustle to now
Yeah.
becoming full-time hustle. And another factor I'll quickly mention is also increased workforce mobility. People are
Mm-hmm.
traveling more. Now we have the concept of working nomads, people who want to be
Mm-hmm.
able to work from anywhere in the world.
Where?
And as that
Correct.
concept becomes more popular, we can
Yeah.
see that the gig economy is getting bigger.
Correct. Yes, absolutely right. I know, just taking a cue from what you said about COVID literally amplified this. I know that these things used to exist. People, I mean, I don't think Upwork came up in 2000, in 2020. It probably was there, but people were not as um, constrained to use digital workers or digital nomads at that time. Maybe in 2019 people were not constrained to use people that they don't have to see, or they don't have to just send an email and get the job done. But with COVID and everything that happened, with COVID and people being forced to literally stay at home, for months. It's raised a lot of issues for people. And for me as a lawyer at that time, I know that there were a lot of transactions that happened, even though we were not in the same space with clients. I know a lot of deals were started and concluded. So many companies went to the market to, seek for funds. And, in fact, practically all the transactions that were deals that were struck during that period were oversubscribed. Because, people were looking for where to store their money during that period. So COVID literally amplified this economy. And then another thing COVID did, which I believe Peter is going to talk about later, but I'm just going to kind of like take a bite right now, is people began to see their life differently with COVID. People saw that their life was really not about their work. It was supposed to be the other way around. So people started making very difficult decisions and choices, during that period. And for somebody like me, after COVID, because I literally worked remotely for the whole of 2020, and I said to myself, if I can do multi-million naira transactions, right, from the comfort of my house, there's practically no point. Because in 2019, when I wanted to start my law firm, I was looking for an office space, like office space, office space. Fast forward to 2021, it was no longer necessary. I just needed a desk, a laptop, and I was good to go. And I can tell you honestly that I have made a lot of money from my house, just my desk and my laptop, working remotely. So COVID pushed us into the future. And, with the statistics that we have now, that says that contemplates that the economy is going to grow to like $455 billion. I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. I think that people need to start getting used to the idea that this economy is here to stay, and how they can tap from that $455 billion, Christina. So I think that's the real issue, because there's a lot of money to be made in that economy. So people need to learn, especially professionals, how to, get into that market, to that economy, leverage it, and get the most out of it. So which brings me to my next question. And that question is, now, what are some of the common misconceptions? I think I've raised them with, what I just said about remote and gig economy careers. And I can tell you free, some people think that people that work gigs are not serious. They are not real professionals. So maybe we want to talk about those misconceptions, so that anybody that is, in that space does not feel like they are less professional than the people that work in a traditional office. So can we deal with those misconceptions right now? So let me let you talk about.
Thank you for raising that. That was actually a very, very valid one you raised, because I can relate, on a personal level, as someone who has also evolved in like more recent months. In this season of my career, I'm more, remote. In fact, I'm fully remote, except when I have to, step out, for client work, or, some meetings that have to be physical and all that. In fact, interestingly, I was just speaking to someone recently who was sharing with me, a senior professional, middle-aged person, who was sharing how frustrated she feels about her younger brother, who doesn't seem to have a job, still lives in the parents' house, and is home all the time on laptop, on phone. But he says he has work, and he just says he's doing gigs, and that he actually has money, seeing the kind of things that he's able to afford, and even get for the parents and all. But she can't, for the life of her, stop advising him to get a job, like, because obviously you're dealing with a generation that can't, relate to, you don't dress up and go out every day, yet you say you work. But that's the reality that we find ourselves in. And of course, that led me to sharing with this person to say, hey, that is actually me right now as well. And, don't be mistaken. This person, once you can establish that, he's not into anything illegitimate, there's actually a world of opportunities, of work from the tap of your fingers. You can literally serve any organization in the world. That's the reality we find ourselves in, today. So yes, misconceptions, when people, before now, when you hear someone say they're self-employed, maybe you're wondering that, okay, perhaps there are people who have worked longer years and, have now retired into doing their own thing. But now you're seeing someone straight out of school say, I'm self-employed. And okay, what business do you run? I don't run a business. I'm self-employed. I just, work for different companies from home. It can be very, very interesting. So there are misconceptions around, like Coach BSO rightly raised, you're not serious, or, you're not ready yet, or you're just passing time. Especially because, again, before now, the regular traditional way was to be able to tie yourself to a big brand company. Oh, I work in this, or I work in that. And it was a thing, before now, to be able to say, oh, I work here, I work there. All of a sudden, you may not be able to, you're just working different projects for different big companies, but you're basically self-employed. Your name is not attached to any organization in particular. So yes, you could be taken for unserious, but again, it's just a matter of time. Just the way over time there has been adjustments to the idea of working remotely and working hybrid. The older generation or every other generation would, catch up eventually. But then again, you must also be conscious about how you project yourself, because again, there are opportunities that exist for you even with the older generation, but you need to be able to also articulately project the work that you do, which is why even certain work platforms have to adjust the template to suit, not just saying, oh, I worked here from this time to this time, but also suit project type of work. Certain apps and platforms that professionals, congregate on have to also adjust to be able to give room for people in the gig economy to project their work and very much align as opposed to the traditional way. So yes, I think that's actually the major misconception that comes with being in the gig economy. Being seen as someone who you're just at home, you're not doing anything, you're just passing time. Whereas you are doing a lot of things and actually creating value, and also of course attracting value to yourself. I think that's actually the major misconception on that one.
Thank you so much, Christina. So before we forget that Peter is here, let me bring him up and ask him a couple of questions. And just like I said before, I was going to talk about the balance that we need to achieve for to thrive with the gig economy. So, for instance, I work remotely practically almost all the time, except like Christina um, mentioned, if I have a meeting, then I have to go out. But if not, I can have my virtual meeting, except the client insists on a physical meeting. But I can have a Zoom meeting. My coaching sessions are virtual, so I do practically all my work from within the confines of my home. But then the question is, how do you draw a balance? Because you're working from your home, you don't have to wake up to go out, right? So you can be tempted to just stand up from your bed in your pajamas and stay in your pajamas all day working. And you can start working from the moment you wake up. For early risers like me, that means once I wake up at 5, my work day has started. So how do you manage that balance? How do you balance life and work? How do you create those boundaries? Especially when you're working remotely or if it's a gig career. I mean, if you are taking a gig, if you're in the gig economy, you are obviously working remotely. You're not in a physical office or you're not attached to a physical office like Christina has mentioned. So, Peter, how do you balance that? How? Please advise us.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Coach BSO, and thank you very much, Christina, for that entry into the gig economic space. So yes, I think really COVID did a lot of good for my generation. That's the Gen Z generation, and then also for millennials, and then just for everyone at large. Now in this generation, we're getting to the point where people do multiple jobs. So you could be working 2 jobs, working for a company in Nigeria and then working for another company maybe in Europe, in America, and the likes. So, but how do you still ensure that you are productive? How do you ensure that you are able to still balance up your work life and then your personal life? So for me, I feel the some of the things that some of the skills that we need to succeed, some of the values that we hold dear in the physical workspace we still also need to adapt that in our virtual world, in our virtual work workspace. So one of those is for me is empathy. So in our workspace, we always focus on that word. Okay, we need to step into the shoes of others. So one of those is empathy. We need to really focus on that. I'll be discussing about some of these things throughout the session. Another is service. So how do we handle work? How do we go above and beyond to ensure that we deliver exceptional services to our clients, to our employers, and all? Another one is personal development. So right now in the gig economy, you don't have HR. So now you are the HR for yourself. You are the HR for your in quotes Peter organization, because now that is what the world is becoming. So you are taking ownership of your career growth. You are taking ownership of your financial growth. So that way, personal development becomes like a very core aspect of your of what you do. And then also it's also another one also too is problem solving. Yes. So for problem solving too, those are the things that we do in the physical workplace. So we now need to figure out how to also incorporate this in our own personal workplace. So for how we can always ensure that we stay productive, I think one of the major things is for us to have a clear workspace. So usually, yes, it's also very, very normal that when we just wake up, we just pick up our laptop while we're on our bed, we start sending out mails, we start doing our daily activities, we start engaging with clients, engaging with our colleagues all around the world. But I have come to realize from my own personal experience that many times I get very lazy on the bed. So what I did for myself was that I created a personal space. Once I'm on my table, I'm here to work. Once I close my laptop, work ends, and then I zoom off to something else. And then I have tabs. So I have a screen for my personal life. I have a screen for my corporate life. So once I'm done with this, I can easily switch over to my personal life. So it's very important that you have a dedicated space where you can say, okay, this is my workspace. And then you set boundaries. So if you, for me now, I still stay alone. So it's very easy for me to say, okay, I want to focus. But when I'm at home, I always emphasize that to my siblings, to those that stay with me, that please, this particular space or this particular time is dedicated for me to work. So please, I want as much interference. I want less interference as much as possible. So please don't interrupt that space. So make it clear, set boundaries for those you work with. Then I think another very important thing to do is also communication. So usually I always get this feel anytime I come, because I work hybrid. So I work a lot of days remote, then I also come to the office. And then when I come to the office, some of my senior managers are more in the over 50s and the like. So they've not gotten used to this world of remote and world of gig economy. So usually they always say, oh, guys, you're not productive, guys will send you mails, you're not reachable. So what I always do is this. I always ensure that I am always reachable. So when I'm working from home, you can call me and get a response as instant as possible. If I'm not feeling fine, I would send that communication over to my boss. Oh, today I'm not feeling fine, I want to get to the hospital. So effective communication so that they know, okay, you are doing something. And then also, you need to always put your line manager. So for those who are still in the corporate space, you need to always put your line manager in the loop of what you are doing. If you're working with a client, you also need to also ensure that your client knows that yes, you are on track in meeting your deliverables. So to achieve this, you could always set up a call with your line manager, maybe once in a week or once in a month, and set up your priorities. So these are my weekly priorities, these are my monthly priorities, and these are when I will deliver so deliverables. So that way everyone is clear that okay, this is what Peter is doing, this is what Paula is doing, this is what you are doing from this time to this time or from this day to this day. And with that, you can also set up a follow-up call maybe within the week, within a month, to say, okay, this is where I am now, this is the help I need, this is the insight I need from you. And then that way you can also ensure that you are staying productive. Because whether we like it or not, our line managers, we are still reporting to someone, so we also still need to remain productive. So we also still, regardless of the multiple things we are doing, we also need to also ensure that we are committed to the value we are offering. So that way we can offer that, we can effectively communicate what we are doing part time. Then how we effectively balance up. One of the things I think that we also don't do is, usually when I'm working at home, I just stay at home, I'm indoor all through the day. So one thing to also do that is have a closing time. So if you know you're
Yes.
working for 8 hours, if you start work by 10, close by
Yeah.
7. If you start work by
Yeah.
5, close. So just always have a closing time. And then very
You know,
important, our health.
sorry, Peter, sorry to butt in.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you mentioned that, because one of the things I was going to say to add to what you have been saying so far about, clear boundaries and achieving that balance. And it's one of the things I did during COVID. Because, COVID just happened upon us and we just found ourselves at home having to
Yeah.
work. So what I did, and I still do, is even though I'm working from home, when I wake up, I have my bath. I literally have my bath and I dress up like I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I know when I was doing it during COVID, my husband would be like, "But you're not going anywhere." I said, "I need to tell my mind and my head that
That I'm
we are
working.
still at work. So my body needs to recognize that, yes, it is at home, but it is at work. Because if I don't have my bath, my body will not feel like it's at work. So I will go and have my bath and I will dress up. Maybe not, put all the makeup on my face and stuff like that, because I'm not going anywhere, but I will dress up. Then another thing that I do, which is the point you just mentioned, is you must have a closing time.
Yeah.
If you close at 6, make sure you close at 6 at home. Don't extend it, because the lines will become blurred. You will
Yeah.
not know whether this is now your personal time or this is still work time. So now that I'm my own boss, it's easy to, maybe establish those clear boundaries about, okay, I'm closing at 6 o'clock. For some people, it might not be that easy. But, once you communicate it like you just said to whoever needs to know, maybe your colleagues or your line supervisor or stuff like that, you have to have a closing time. That time when you literally shut your laptop down,
Yes.
literally, and talking about making sure everybody respects that space. Just before I was going to start this webinar, I chased my son into the room with my daughter and I told them strict instructions. You don't come here for the next 1.5 hours. I don't want to hear him say, "Mommy, something is going on." I don't want to hear it. Just give me this 1 hour, 30 minutes, and I'll be done. So you need to establish those clear boundaries, prepare everybody's mind, let everybody recognize that when you're in that mode, you're at work. Those are the things that will help you to stay effective. And the people that are in the traditional office will not feel like you are not doing anything. Maybe you are just at home. That's not the time to go and run your personal errands. You're at work. Somebody's paying for that time. You can't possibly now go and go to the salon to make your hair at 9 o'clock in the morning on a work day just because you're working from home. That's irresponsible behavior, and it should be punished. So when you are working remotely, somebody is paying for that time, albeit with you at home or wherever you are choosing to work from. So you have to treat it as if you are in your physical office, you are in a traditional workspace, so that you would be effective, so that you will be focused. So it brings me to the second question I was going to ask you, Peter. And that question is, you know, you were saying something about your bosses, your line supervisors. They are still maybe like a generation older than me. We don't understand these things. We try to understand because we work with young people a lot. But for
Yeah.
those guys, those people in their 50s and 60s that don't understand these things, and then remote work and the gig economy allows you and gives you the opportunity to work with people from different backgrounds, from different countries. Countries that you probably will never visit in your life. You're working
Yeah.
with someone in the Philippines, in Singapore, stuff like that. How can you navigate those cultural differences and communication challenges? Because if you're working with somebody that is in China, for instance, the person doesn't understand English. And I know Chinese people very well. They are not apologetic about it. If you
Yeah.
cannot Mandarin, that's your business. If you want to do business with them, you must be able to speak their language. So, how do you navigate those challenges as a gig career person or a remote worker?
Thank you very much, Ma, for that question. So, like I said at the beginning of when I began speaking, so empathy is very important. So, I think that's one of the things that I have learned a lot in my career, and I've also used a lot in my career. Empathy. So, with empathy, you get to sit in their shoes. So, if I was in their shoes, how will I respond? How will I interact? How will I communicate? So what I do is that I build a relationship with all of my colleagues from across the world. So currently, I work with colleagues across Africa, across Middle East, Europe, and Asia. So these are different guys with different backgrounds. So I have a colleague that whenever we are speaking, he likes his stuff very fast. So Peter, go straight to the point. Don't waste time. Just tell me this, and let's go to the next thing. I have another colleague that she likes detailed, and also I do not say they have to adjust to fit who I am, but rather with empathy, I adjust to suit each of them. So for my colleague that is, let's go straight to the point, I go straight to the point. When I'm chatting him, straight to the point. With my other colleague that likes it detailed, I also do the same thing for her too. So that way I'm able to understand their various cultural diversity and also able to align with that cultural diversity. Another thing is also effective communication. So I have some of my line managers that are also not sitting in Nigeria, they're sitting abroad. And what I do for those guys is so that they know that I am working. So they know that Peter is not just in Nigeria and he's sleeping and just enjoying himself. I keep them in loop with everything I do. So I'm sending mails regularly. I'm having calls with them to say, "Oh, boss, this is what I did, and this is how I resolved this issue. This was the issue I faced. This was what I did," so that they can be very much aware that he's active, he's offering value, he's delivering, he's doing his deliverables. So these are like some of the ways that I manage some of these guys. And then Google Translate is my friend. So I have friends that will just send me stuff in French, and then the next time I'll just pick the mails, drop it in Google Translate, it translates it, I reply back in English. Some of them would think, "Oh, Peter understands," and then they continue speaking in French, and then I continue using my Google Translate to translate whatever they say. Some of them are not really good in English, and they'll tell you, "Oh, Peter, I'm not really good in English." So I always try to understand those kind of guys, and for effective communication, I do what you call active listening. So I know nobody likes when you tell them, "Oh, can you come again? Can you come again? Can you come again?" Whether it's a client, it's a colleague, it's a line manager. So I always try to really focus whenever I'm dealing with colleagues from across the globe. So I try to understand what are they saying, what do they want me to do, and if I discover that we have that kind of maybe communication barrier, I just go the written format. So either I'm sending a chat or I'm sending a mail, so that way we can at least cut that barrier of communicating face to face. Then another thing I also do is I always interact with them beyond the workspace. So we discuss about football for the guys. We discuss about the vacation for the ladies. So some of the ladies that I work with across the globe, they go for vacation and they are sending me pictures. "Oh, Peter, I had a great time in my vacation." So I'm really concerned about them. I'm concerned about their family. I'm concerned about their culture. So because of that intentionality, they also do the same. So they ask me about Nigeria. So that way we're able to build a connection beyond work. We're able to build a connection beyond a working relationship. And I think for me, that is also a very important thing to do. So empathy actually plays a lot in the way we interact in this gig economy. So your clients' time zones, there are some times that you will need to get to the office on time or wake up on time so that you can have a meeting with a colleague or a client that is in another time zone, maybe say in Canada. So there are some times that you need to pay the price. There are some times that you also need to communicate to say, "Oh, sorry, I will still be sleeping by this time. Can we move the meeting to another time?" And then just try to understand what works. So that sometimes that it would favor you, that sometimes that it might not favor you. So the ability to adapt is also very, very important when you are working with colleagues across different time zones. So I think these are some of the things that can help you. So some of them, communication, very, very important when you're dealing with colleagues. understanding their culture, understand the way they work, understand what is unique about them, and then working with them in that level, and then also building a personal relationship with them. Let it not just be, oh, you are only concerned about their work. Ask about their children, ask about their kids, ask
True.
about their country.
Correct.
For example, my friends in Morocco, they had some crisis. I was reaching out to them to understand, oh, hope you are fine, hope everything is fine. Some colleagues in Poland during the war, they had all of those issues. And the way I spoke with them, they felt as though I loved them. And that's actually helped build our relationship. So these are like some of the things that I do personally to build that relationship across the globe.
Wow, thank you so much, Peter. I mean, and you know, it's interesting that these strategies and tips that you have shared, they are not confined to the traditional workspace. You can actually apply
Exactly.
the same strategies to your client as
Yeah.
a freelancer or a gig, a portfolio, because that's what they call gig economic careers. Any career in the gig economy is called a portfolio career. So you can actually apply that to your clients. I know it's interesting. You would say things like, "Oh, you make comments on their pictures." You know, I was at a training on Friday, talking about effective communication with lawyers, and I say to them that, look, lawyers, we always focus on the transaction when we're dealing with our clients. We
Yeah.
treat our clients like the transaction itself. We forget that they are human beings. So we don't care to say happy birthday to them when it's their birthday. We don't care to say, oh, Idel Molud, Barka de Salah. We don't care to, maybe you can see their WhatsApp status and, like you said, they are uploading their vacation pictures. You are not saying, oh, happy holidays. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And then when you pick the phone to talk to them, you are immediately going into your transaction or the instruction. You're not asking, oh, how's the family? How you feeling? You need to empathize with people. You need to help them feel like they are much more than the transaction that they are giving you. So all of those things, all of those skills and strategies are not limited to your colleagues at work. You should extend it to your clients too, so that the line of communication is open. You can bridge those cultural differences and barriers and stuff like that. If, for instance, when I was trying to pick a date for this webinar, first I thought, okay, it had to be a day that everybody would be available. Then I checked the calendar. I saw that Idel Molud was going to be today.
Oh.
Fantastic. So I said September 27 is going to be September 27. Then I said, okay, what time? I mean, this is not just for Nigerians. So if I'm going to expect that people from all over the world can join, then it has to be a time that is comfortable for all of us all around the world. So anybody anywhere in the world now would be at least in daytime, except for the
Yeah.
millions that have already gone ahead of us into tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to be empathic. You have to respect, because the world has now become a global village.
Yes.
The world is so small now with technology and everything that you would be doing yourself a disservice if you are not thinking locally. So when I say global, I'm saying, yes, you are thinking locally, but you have a global mindset. Yes, you're thinking, okay, I'm in Nigeria, but you have a global mindset. Okay. So now let me take this back to Christina. And Christina, now the question is for the people that are still in their 9 to 5 jobs. I mean, I was there, so I know what it feels like. And all these things we are saying, they'll be like, hell. So some people can just be working from their house. How do you make that transition? For me, I think COVID was the kickstarter. Some people, yes, they felt like, okay, maybe COVID pushed them, but then, the economic downturn and everything, some people just felt, oh, maybe this is not the right time. So how do you make that transition, and so that it is effective and almost seamless from your 9 to 5 to remote work or a gig career?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the question. And thank you so much, Peter. Peter shared so much. And a lot of what Peter shared also applies here. But just to speak directly to the situation, so again, I mean, plugging into the gig economy or remote work doesn't necessarily mean that you need to, for example, some people don't even need to leave their current jobs. Some people just need to have conversations with their leaders. I mean, I know I have friends who have had to go back to their leaders who are probably not in, I mean, in the younger generation to say, hey, you know, there's this opportunity, we can do this, especially if you're in Nigeria and, you know, the cost of living, well, to be honest, the world, there's just, you know, a lot is going on, inflation, there's a lot of economic factors that, you know, fuel pricing and all of that is impacting the economy of many countries. And, you know, I know friends who have had to go to their employers and say, hey, you know, the cost of, you know, driving to and transportation and all of that has gone up. You know, can we explore the opportunity of hybrid work, some days from the office, some other days? And of course, this is how we intend to go about it. This is how we'll be accountable. So yeah, first point is there could be opportunities for you to actually, you know, experience remote work from your current employment. You may just have to engage, whether it's your bosses or it's HR, and explore the possibilities. Again, there are some type of jobs that, you know, can't yet really plug into remote work. For example, you know, as a medical doctor, the days that you're in the office, you have to be in the office. You know, at least largely there's telemedicine going on, which allows for some form of hybrid work, you know, as well. But some other careers, some careers are more flexible than others. That's the point, right? And then for those of us who are probably, you know, in a situation where you want to probably even explore a career transition altogether, you know, where we find ourselves right now creates an opportunity for people to transition with their work easily. So, for example, if you had to stop what you're doing in pursuit of something you want to do, you prefer doing, you could actually look at and say, what are the transferable skills I have? You know, and not necessarily have to start from the scratch, but actually consider the transferable skills you have and look out for, you know, freelance, remote, project-based jobs. You know, sign up on certain platforms and project that transferable skill that you have, so that you have an opportunity as a stopgap while you're transitioning your career to whatever it is you want to now begin to do, to still have, you know, work opportunity and earning opportunity, you know, through remote jobs and, you know, gigs on these various platforms. So again, that's an opportunity there. Now, if you're now looking to completely transition into being in the gig economy, you know, you don't want to, you know, work in a full-time employment anymore, because of obviously the advantages that come with being in the gig economy or being a portfolio worker is, you know, a lot of flexibility around your time, you know, that ability to, you know, upskill continuously, because you find that different projects may push you to develop certain skills that you didn't have before, you know, more work-life integration and all those other advantages. And of course, there are also the downsides, like, you know, if you're in a full employment, there's some higher level of job security. You know, for some people, in your employment, even where every company also has those seasons where maybe there's more work, less work, whatever the season, you're guaranteed, you know, some kind of remuneration at the end of the month, versus being in the gig economy where it's dependent on you being able to, you know, work on projects and jobs and all of that. So there are pros and cons. Consider them. And if you decide that, hey, I really do want to get to this gig economy, I advise that you start out, you know, by doing, you know, projects and freelancing on the side. What that will help you do is begin to like understand the space as it relates to your own industry. Except of course you're just getting another job that allows you work fully remotely in the same industry, which that just has to do with shopping for competition or other organizations that allow their people work remotely in your space. So you can apply for those sorts of jobs. That's another way you can transition. But if you want to just plug out of full employment completely and, you know, work from home, be self-employed and all that, I suggest that you start out right now from where you are on the side, so that you can begin to understand the space, expose yourself. You may not be able to do much because obviously you still have a full-time job. You may just do very, very minimal work, but at least you are already playing in that space. You're already experiencing that space. You're learning from, you know, that minimal involvement in the space, and of course networking and building connections building your portfolio as well, albeit meanwhile, so that when you actually stop your full-time employment and go into this fully, you actually
Yeah.
have a portfolio of work done that you can
Correct.
project. So you're not starting from ground zero. You're leveraging what you did while you were doing it as a secondary work, and now it's not your primary work. And of course,
Correct.
everything Peter shared about how you should then plan yourself, and even Coach BSO, the details around planning yourself to ensure you're still productive, because being in gig economy doesn't mean that you can just play and money
Yes,
will just fall on your head.
you don't be
You still have
fapping
to work.
around.
You know, it's
Absolutely.
not faffing. In fact, sometimes you can even feel like more work, because
Work,
with
I
the full
tell
employment, you
you.
know that
I
I'm
completely
closing at
agree.
this time, I'm out.
Yeah,
But now
that's
you have
right.
a project, you have deadlines.
Mhm.
Whether it's by
Correct.
not, you shall have to make it work. So it's not faffing at all,
Absolutely.
which is
At
why you should like
all.
experience it first before you transition fully. Those would be
Correct.
my
You
thoughts.
know, yeah, so it takes me to the next question I was going to ask you, but I think you touched on it quickly. So I think I want you to, maybe dive into it more, in more detail. And that's the job security part and the
Hmm.
financial stability parts. Because like you rightly said, if you're in paid employment, there's some sort of security that at the end of the month, or on a particular day in the month, you will get paid. But with
Yeah,
this kind of work, this kind of career, which is now a career path, because one
absolutely.
of the things you said when you started was that some people, I mean, most young people now, once they leave school, they are not looking for work.
Yeah.
They are immediately starting something. They are getting on those platforms to get gigs. And, some of them have worked on those platforms for years without
Hmm.
necessarily having to apply for a job. So now,
Absolutely.
what the financial issues, all those things that you touched on slightly, how do you manage that? I mean, I have a few ideas, but I want to hear you first. How do you manage,
Mm.
especially the financial stability part, and what's the other one? Um, the job security part. Yes. How do you
Yeah.
reduce that risk? How do you mitigate that
Mm.
risk? Those two risks.
Mm. Mm. Thank you for raising. That's a very, very valid concern. In fact, I'm just looking at the notes I took ahead of this session, and I was giving us an opportunity to speak to the fact that, one of the cons of being in the gig economy is, I mean, unlike working in full employment, job security, and of course, there are financial implications. You're dependent on your ability to get jobs. But I'll say that for those who work in the gig economy, financial intelligence is very important, right? That ability, first, you must be able to set goals for yourself in the light of whatever it is you do and whatever peculiarities. Let me give you an example. For me, I'm in a season where I have an infant. I'm intentionally taking a career break of some sort, off from, my typical being on the move, all over the place kind of thing, to just doing more from home, right? In this season, because of the peculiarities I'm in, the goal I've set for myself for like monthly income from doing gigs as I do is in I'm putting my context, in perspective. I'm conscious of where I am. So it'll be unrealistic for me to set a certain kind of goal now, because that would mean doing more work, which in this season I'm not able to do as much because I'm also being a full-time mom of some sort, right? So again, that's what I mean by set goals. Be conscious of your season, be conscious of your peculiarities, and set goals for yourself in the light of what you know about the industry and the space you play in. What's possible? What are you reaching for, right? And now that setting a goal puts your head in a place where you can chase something. So you're not faffing, like Coach BSO said. You're not just sleeping on it, because you know that, okay, if I have this goal for the year, I should be doing at least this much every month. What will it take to do this much every month, or to earn this much every month? And that may mean, like, I mean, this is portfolio career. That may mean diversifying your portfolio, right? You may have multiple skills and be able to earn from multiple skills and say, okay, from this particular skill or this kind of work, I'll do this much, this one, this one. So you have a sense of direction, right, as to what you're going after. And I always say that if you have idle time, as someone who is in the gig economy, you have to be very, very high on things like personal branding and thought leadership. Because when you have idle time, I say take that as an opportunity to work on your personal brand and to do things around thought leadership. So write articles, go out and post, talk about the work that you do, speak about your industry, because these are also ways that you get attention to yourself and your work and attract more gigs. So for me, for example, I do stuff in the corporate training space, right? Every now and then I'm writing about to professionals, I'm writing about young professionals and the workplace and the workspace. I'm speaking about it. That I do that a lot, such that in my idle time, I'm not really idle. I'm actually working. I'm writing an article or working on a book or something of that sort, so that that can serve as a leverage for me to further boost, my ability to attract jobs and earn more. Now, again, financial intelligence is very important because you don't have a fixed income per se to plan with,
Yeah,
but you have to be
correct.
very conscious about ensuring you organize your expenses, your
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle in a way that
Mm-hmm.
matches what your average income is like. So don't spend projected income. Actually spend
Hmm.
what you have.
What you
Because
earn,
what if that
correct.
projected exactly, what if the projected income
Does not
doesn't
come.
come in that month? You
Yeah,
put yourself in trouble. So you have to
correct.
put a lot of effort into going
Yeah.
after your goals, your earning goals, and then just
Mm-hmm.
leveraging a lot of financial intelligence
Intelligence,
as you move
correct.
along. Very, very important. Yes.
Just to add to what you said, and about knowing the season that you're in, I think is very critical. For me, yes, apart from COVID, in 2020, my son was just 2, and I didn't want to miss his growing up years.
Mm,
And one of the things that I had determined, even when I was doing a 9 to 5 job, was that I was not going to miss my child's growing up years. It was very
mm,
important to me. I used to say it a lot. And it's because
mm,
I know what my work as a lawyer requires, the hours,
mm,
especially the
mm,
hours that you have to put in, to work. So COVID was a blessing to me because I worked the whole of 2020 from home. So I saw him literally every day. So, after that, I just said to myself that I don't want to give this up. Yes, I would be missing the guaranteed income at the end of the month. I will be missing the plenty money, that I will be getting at the end of the month. But I can't trade this time for that. This season of my son's life is very important to me, and I refuse to trade it. And it now helped me to incorporate a lot of financial intelligence, like you said, because now I know that I'm not going to get in. I have not earned a salary since 2020. So I know I don't earn a salary. So what that means for me is that every income that I generate is not for me. Everything is not for me. Some of them have to go back into the business. I have to pay myself a salary, right? In other words, my business needs to have an account, and I have to separate my business account from my personal account. My salary must come from my business account to my personal account. I have to determine that, okay, this is how much I am paying myself every month. And now, this is not to say that I cannot borrow money from the business. I borrow money from my business. So when I am borrowing money from my business, so when I'm making that transfer from my business account to me, in the reference, I'm writing it loan to self, so that I know that Bukola is not a gift. That money does not belong to you, So, and it helps me to understand that, okay, you're not yet making enough to live lavishly or to do the main things that you need to do more. If you really want this part of your son's life to be a part of your life, then you have to do the work to give you the kind of life you had when you had a salary or something consistent. So for people in the gig career, that should be that should be you have to be financially intelligent. You have to be financially disciplined. You have to budget. Some of people don't like to hear it, but you need to have a budget and you need to stick with it. It might be tough, but it will serve you well in the long run. You have to budget, you have to stick with your budget, you have to, pay for things like, this is the time when you should look for promos. So if your internet you pay monthly, look for something that allows you to pay maybe 6 months in advance and get 1 month free. So at least for the next 6 months, you are not thinking about internet connection because your work is online. You don't have to buy data all the time. So it's not like you are loading your data like 500 today, 500 tomorrow. No, do a monthly plan. So you have to plan your finances, because that's the only way to give yourself the level of financial security that you would get if you were in a traditional 9 to 5 where you are going to be paid a salary. So, I like that you mentioned it, but I just thought that I should add that because these are things that have worked for me. I even when I'm giving, maybe lending somebody money and I'm lending it from the business account, I lend it from the business account so that the person knows that it's not Bukola that
It's
is
not my
giving you the
personal
money. Oh.
money.
Thank you. So you know that you will return it. And I'm always
Yeah.
say it's the business money. Oh, please, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you have to, clear lines, be financially intelligent. The global economy is all over the place. You don't know today the dollar is this, today, tomorrow the dollar is this. You have to be financially intelligent to know that you have to edge against all these, risks that come up. Kind of like give yourself some financial stability with every income that you generate. Give yourself some buffer. Save. Because you might not make money for the next 2-3 months. What are you going to do? Like, are you going to go hungry? So you have to be financially intelligent. I don't think that can be overemphasized. And, just before I release you, Christina, I think this is my last question for you. So let me just take it before I bring Peter up, and, we will now be, we'll be drawing this to a close. I promise that we will not spend too much time, So now, what are some of the unexpected rewards of the gig economy or remote work? I think I might have mentioned some, but in your own experience, what are the rewards, the things that are not people cannot readily think about? So that's why they are not jumping on it on remote work or the gig economy. What are the unexpected rewards? What are the things, the possibilities that you have encountered in your experience, or you have seen somebody experience, as a career professional?
Okay, thank you. That's a very, very powerful and important question. Because yes, just after talking about the financial side of things, it's nice to add this, to just help you see the bigger picture. Because someone is already, people who typically are wired for more, job security and financial security may be feeling a certain way after, hearing about the financial part. But there are a lot of pluses. Practical example, personally, I've seen that being in the gig economy actually allows you to be able to chase some of your personal passions and stuff that maybe on a good day with a full-time employment you may have been too busy to even give it a try and see how it goes. But now there's some more control, of your time and and all that, so you can actually plan and apportion more time to trying out something new, whether it's taking a course, in a different field, or it's even doing something like in volunteering, or it's things like, in my own example, being able to write more more books, write more books, do more around the personal branding side, even shop for opportunities that are global, opportunities for fellowships for professionals, things that, on a good day, on a full employment, you're not even thinking about them because you're busy, your time is fully engaged. But now you have those pockets of opportunity, and it can allow you just, hey, what fellowships are out there for professionals in my field, what's the future of work in my field. You're able to give your time to some other things that you may have been too busy for. That is a major plus that, I personally enjoyed and I'm grateful for. Of course, Coach BS also mentioned, the part about, better work-life integration, where you're probably able to make more time for things like family, friends, and of course, another, blessing of being in the gig economy is the flexibility that you have also helps that you're not confined to a particular geographical space. So the concept around working nomads applies more to people who are either in fully remote jobs or who are participants in the gig economy, who run portfolio careers. Because working nomads is basically people who want to be able to be traveling the world while working. So I know a few people who are in that space where today they're in Kenya, tomorrow they're in Uganda, next tomorrow they're in Morocco. And that is only possible because wherever they find themselves, as long as they are with their laptop, they can work. And that's actually beautiful because imagine just being able to see the world. And that's, something that I'm looking forward to, evolving into as well when I can, when my children are older and all these kind of things, just being more mobile, getting an opportunity to experience other cultures, other geographies while working, right? That is something that is only applicable if you can work remotely or you're a portfolio worker and you can control your time in that sense, right? I think that those are two major ones that I like to highlight, just so I don't take too much time, that I have personally experienced, and they cannot be underrated. People have gone from being able to try out new things to birth a whole business,
Correct.
a whole side business
Absolutely.
that could not have happened if they were busy in a full-time employment. Yeah.
I agree with you completely. And just to add to that, coaching for me started when I was in the law firm. Like, that's how I started coaching. I started with the associates. Was mentoring them. I was coaching them, and I was limited to the number of associates I had to work with every year. Whenever we had new intakes, because we usually used to take them from entry level as youth corps members. So I was limited to that, right? But when I started working remotely from 2021, I gave full liberty to my coaching career. I took it, I took it full gear, And if you go online, you probably will not see me talking law, because I want to give this coaching per part of my life the life that it requires, and it has taken a life of its own. In 3 years, is taking a life of his own. I've written a book, I've written 2 ebooks. This webinar series is a product of my coaching passion, right? The 12 months coaching program that I have for young professionals is a product of my coaching passion. The coaching programs that I have is a product of my coaching passion. Because I am a coach now, I have gone for certification as an executive coach. Because I am a coach, I wanted to take my coaching seriously. I went to get my certification from John Maxwell in America. So it has pushed me to do so many things that my 9 to 5 work limited me from doing, and taking that leap, it's like I was saying that I was really particular about spending time with my son and how it was important to me. And, giving full bloom to my coaching career was very important to me, because I'm going to be 45 next year. And I always tell myself, initially, coaching was supposed to be my retirement plan. And I said to myself 3 years ago that, okay, if it's going to be my retirement plan, I should start working on it. Because if I wait till I retire before I start working on it, it's no longer a retirement plan. It has become work. So I have to start working on it now, so that when I finally decide to retire, if I retire, is living, is a living thing, is alive, is kicking, So those 2 things literally pushed me into this, and are my strongest whys for doing what I do now. So you need to find a strong why. What is Why am I doing this? Is there something that you're passionate about? Be passionate about it on the side now. But are you passionate about it enough to give it the life that it requires? Yes, if your current employment allows you to give it the life that it deserves, by all means, stay with your 9 to 5 job. I know people that are doing that. Peter is one person that is doing that successfully. Edememe, Oladiji Usu is somebody that I know is doing that successfully. Omobabirin Adeola Oshideko is somebody I know that is doing that successfully. If your 9 to 5 job allows you to pursue your passion on the side, please, by all means, do that. So that, like Christina said, test it. Can I fall back on this thing later? Start building it. Like me that said coaching was going to be my retirement plan. So start building your retirement plan now with that side gig, that passion, that thing that you like so much that you like to do all the time when you're not working. So I completely agree with you. The rewards are amazing. I think for me, the highest reward it gives you is a sense of fulfillment. Like that in your knower that this is me living my highest life and I am absolutely enjoying myself. So think about it. There's so many benefits. We have highlighted the cons, we have highlighted the pros. Think about it, weigh it, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So, but just before we do that, Peter is going to tell us how to network effectively in that space before we round off. And so I'm bringing Peter up. Thank you so much, Christina. I really appreciate you and your time. Thank you for coming today. Please don't go yet because I'm still going to thank you again. But let me just bring Peter up now. So, Peter, tell me, you kind of like touched on the networking and the tools part, but maybe you want to take a deep dive into those things for you to work effectively in this space. You need to know how to use technology and you need to know how to leverage networking. So, can you tell us, just give us some strategies and tips that would help us to do those two things effectively?
Yeah, thank you very much, Coach BSO. So yes, also a very, very interesting question. And interestingly, also, Christina has also touched a little bit on this particular subject, and that's on personal branding and then also building thought leadership. So I always tell the guys that I coach that the key to effective networking is you must be a valuable person. So networking is give and take. So you give something and then you also get something from the person you are networking with. So usually with the gig economy now, you, like I said earlier on, you are your human resource department. So you need to really focus on your personal development, becoming a better version of yourself on a daily basis. I have this quote that guides me is from Robin Sharma. To double your income and impact, you need to triple your investments in 2 core areas: your personal development and your professional capability. So you want to really invest in yourself. You want to really become the part of the 10% of those in your field. If you are in the FMCG space, if you're in sales, if you're in commercial, if you are in finance, if you're in law, you want to become the best in your field. And when that happens, you can now build that thought leadership. You can build that personal brand. So LinkedIn is one of those places where I know you can do that. So LinkedIn is a powerful platform to network. And from my experience using LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is most effective when you have a personal brand. And your personal brand starts with your profile. So your profile picture, your headlines, how your profile is built. So you could go on to maybe get someone that can help you work on your LinkedIn profile as a professional, so that you are able to really portray who you are as a professional or as somebody who is also in the gig economy. So I call LinkedIn profile like your personal website. So you can take advantage of that. And then when people just do a random search, your profile can show up, and then they can reach out to you, they can network with you. Also, when you reach out to people, usually people want to know who they are engaging with. Is this someone that can add value to me? Is this someone that I can get something from? So your profile can immediately show that, oh yes, you are actually a valuable person based on the things that you have done, maybe based on the post you've made, based on the comments you've made, maybe based on the articles you've written, and then you've added to your featured section. So they can see that in your profile and say, oh yes, let me engage with this fellow, let me engage with this professional. So LinkedIn is a powerful platform. Twitter, interesting, is also a very powerful platform for building and then for networking. So also LinkedIn too. So there are LinkedIn groups, there are Twitter groups. You can join those ones. So maybe you are in the gig economy for graphic designers. So join design spaces and contribute. That way, when you contribute on those spaces, valuable contribution. Remember, I mentioned personal development. So the more you increase the value, the more you increase your value, the more you can add more value to the world. So it's like you increase your value and then you also dispense value. So the more you can dispense quality value, you see that you can also connect with like minds, and that can get you jobs, that can get you gigs, that can get you much more, maybe more jobs, that can get you much more increase of finances. So these are like some of the things that you could do to take advantage of the online space. So like I said, for me, those are like some of the things I do. My LinkedIn profile has to be on point. I take time out. You don't necessarily need to always post. So many people have that issue with, okay, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to post. You could just do comment sections. So you go through comments, you go through a post and then you drop valuable comments. And then others are watching and people are watching. They might not reply, they might not like your post, but because of what they've seen, you will just see that they will reach out to you, and then you guys can pick it up from there. You can network, and that can lead to greater possibilities. So very, very important. Yes, another very important thing I think we also need to discuss is the fact that we need to attend physical events. So one of the things that working at home can do for you is that you get very much relaxed. You're always at home and all. So sometimes come out, experience Lagos. If you're in Lagos, come out and then attend physical events, speak with people, and then connect. So I think that's it for networking.
Thank you so much, Peter. Just to add to what you said about LinkedIn, everybody on LinkedIn is not a content creator.
Yeah.
Everybody on LinkedIn is not a content creator, so you don't have to post every day. Just be a person of value. Go to people's posts, make valuable comments, insightful comments, intelligent comments, right? And to make insightful and intelligent comments, you must be a person of value yourself. You must be somebody committed to your personal growth. You must be somebody committed to investing in yourself. And investing in yourself means spending money to train yourself. Don't always look for free trainings and free mentoring and free coaching. I'm not saying they are not good, but you see, when you invest in yourself, like when you spend money on yourself, you will not only take that training or coaching or program seriously, you will want a return on your investment, right? You will want a return of your investment. And that's what makes you more valuable. That's what makes you command more value. If you don't invest in yourself, you cannot command more value. It's just the way it works. Money is an exchange of value. I cannot pay you if you are not giving me value. People that employ you are employing you because they expect value in return. What is the value they expect in return? Problem solving. They want you to solve a problem. A person that goes to Upwork to want to give you a gig wants to solve a problem. Maybe he wants to write, maybe he wants to design something. So if you do not develop yourself, right, to be able to give the kind of value that commands the kind of value that you want, then you can't complain. If the value that you can give is what 5,000 naira, that's what people will pay you. Somebody else can develop themselves to such an extent that the same thing you designed, they can charge 60,000 naira for it. Because that's how much they've developed themselves. That's how much they've added value to themselves. So you have to add value to yourself. You are your best investments. Anything you invest in yourself belongs to you. Nobody can take it away from you. Absolutely no one. You carry it everywhere with you. So when you think about yourself as a company. So like you're a company like this now, right? And as a company, and you're the CEO of this company. So if you're running a company, are you going to invest in the company or not? Are you going to buy tools for the company or not? Are you going to buy machineries for the company or not? Are you going to advertise the business or promote or market the business of the company or not? And that's where your personal brand comes in, right? You need to market yourself. People need to know you exist. If you know how to do something and nobody knows that you can do it, then you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to do it. And you know, the funny thing is that the internet has democratized this thing in such a way that people that are not even as smart, half as smart as you, are the ones that are getting the jobs that you should be getting. And the reason is simple. They put themselves out there. And it's the people that people see that they believe know how to do the work. So don't be in your cubicle, like Peter said, or your desktop at home, that your workspace, and just be feeling like a superstar and nobody knows you. You are not on LinkedIn. The last edition of this webinar series, one of the speakers said that if you're a professional and you're not on LinkedIn, is a non-starter. Don't even go there. Don't even say it. People say a lot of things. Oh, it's just to say, oh, I'm pleased to announce. No, that's not what LinkedIn is about. We're human beings. It's a platform for professionals. That's why it's not Instagram. That's why it's not Facebook. It is a platform created specifically for professionals. And if you call yourself a professional and you're not there, I don't understand what you're doing. LinkedIn is the only platform, or maybe Twitter, that I know that your posts or the comments you make can come up during a Google search. It will not happen if you put a comment on Instagram or Facebook. Your name will not come up. Your comment will not come up. Go and try it. Put your name in Google. If you are on LinkedIn, it is probably LinkedIn alone that it will bring up if you don't have any other footprint on the cyberspace. But if you're on LinkedIn, it will bring out your LinkedIn profile. So the person now clicks it and goes there. There's nothing. Crickets, no picture, nothing there. Please, I don't understand what you guys are doing. But, if there's anything you're going to take away from this edition of this webinar, thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much. Let me begin to round off here, like I promised. If there's anything you're going to take away from this edition of this webinar, is that the gig economy is not going away. It is a let me use this word, correct, quote and unquote, career path. You can actually choose it, stay there, and build a career out of the gig economy. If you want to be a remote worker like me, it is also something that is viable. But these strategies and tips that we have shared, you have to employ and deploy them so that you are productive and focused. And lastly, the whole point of this webinar series is to help professionals grow faster, avoid mistakes that other professionals are making without guidance and the right strategies and tools. My mission as a coach is to help you to accelerate your growth as a professional, help you to fast track it, help you to avoid those mistakes that you would ordinarily make because you do not know better. And with this gig economy, with remote work, there's so many possibilities. There are so many, so many possibilities that you cannot even begin to imagine. Just imagine the people that you can meet all over the world. I have met a lot of people all over the world that I have not met them physically, but the things that I have done with them within the time that I've met them will probably have taken me years if I was working from a traditional office. I've met people in America, the UK, India, all over the world. They have collaborated with me to do stuff. I have been on their stages and platforms. They have been on my podcast. The possibilities are immense. So don't limit yourself to the traditional 9 to 5. The world has moved past that. The world of work is now dynamic. The world of work has recognized remote work as a work model. The world of work has recognized the gig economy as an economy that should be monitored closely. Because if they are saying that in this year alone is going to grow to $455 billion in value, then they are saying something. And what they're saying essentially is that economy is economy to be watched. That economy is an economy to be leveraged. That economy is not an economy that is going away anytime soon. In fact, they will not allow it to go away because there's so much money to be made there. So this is the time to take advantage so that you can take your own chunk, your own portion of that 455 billion. So I would really like to thank our speakers for coming today. Thank you. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Peter. I'm grateful. Thank you for showing up for me today. Thank you for showing up for us. Thank you for the insights, the strategies that you shared. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And thank you for helping me to do this thing that I am so passionate about. Thank you for helping me share this burden. Like I promised, we're going to keep the time. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments. We have just about 4 minutes to do that. If we I'm not able to take them, you can send them to me by email at thecoachbso@gmail.com, and I will, if they're for me, I will respond. If they're for Peter or Christina, I will send them to them, and we will post them on my social media handles on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook if we are not able to take them. So if we have any questions, let us see them in the comments. If not, you can send them by email. Let me just say it again, thecoachbso@gmail.com. And I promise you that we would respond to your questions. Until the next edition of this series is a quarterly series. So the next one is in 3 months. Be on the lookout and have today's a holiday, but it's almost 6:30. So, I mean, if there's anything else to enjoy for the rest of the day, please absolutely enjoy yourself. Go to bed on time, rest, and, so that you are relaxed and ready for work tomorrow, because I know a lot of people have to join the, early morning hustle to get to work tomorrow. So we don't want to keep people waiting. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for everyone that joined us today. Thank you. And if you're watching this replay, please remember that you can actually avoid a lot of mistakes and, all those things that would delay you or your career by applying this right strategies, the right tools, and, tips, along the way. They would reduce your learning curve to a very large extent, and you can move through your career as quickly as possible. So thank you once again, and have a beautiful rest of the evening. Bye for now. Bye.